Okay, Kundalini 103, facts and myths about Kundalini. And they kind of overlap each other. And this is a really dry, boring video. Facts about Kundalini. So Kundalini is your spiritual director. And as such, she should be revered, studied, understood, and acknowledged as your pathway for spiritual growth. So the fact is, Kundalini is your pathway for spiritual growth. And no matter where you are on your spiritual journey, the fact is, it's a good idea to develop a relationship with her. I mean, she's the one that got you started in the first place, got you interested in the spiritual journey. And so you can always call on her for help, for understanding, for guidance. It's just good to acknowledge and just share gratitude for her awakening you to the spiritual journey, no matter what level you're at. And I hate to use that word level, but no matter if you're just interested in, I don't know, manifesting law of attraction, channeling, it doesn't matter. Just offering some gratitude and acknowledging that she is the one that ignited your fire is a really beautiful thing. Let's see. And also, for those of you who are already feeling like you're in the Kundalini process, it is critical to develop this relationship, because for her progress, Kundalini Shakti requires our conscious cooperation and support. So that's a fact. Fact, your Kundalini process and spiritual advancement can be improved. So if you feel like you're having a difficult Kundalini process, this can be improved and advanced by using spiritual methods, such as meditation, breathwork, mudras, mantras, yoga poses, as well as dietary and supplement implementation. It just depends on what is needed for your particular process. Fact, Kundalini can be and is often, often misused by naive, ego-driven seekers looking for power, energy, experiences, manifesting, and gifts, or used and practiced to have a better sex life or developing intimacy. None of these motivations and actions, this is all ego-driven activities that will not advance you spiritually, but you can certainly become a very seductive salesperson with lots of charisma. Okay. Fact, yes, Kundalini Shakti can be uncomfortable at times if she is not properly supported, acknowledged, and understood, and used in all the correct ways. Fact, Kundalini manifests in many different ways, from the very subtle to not noticeable to the extreme, from blessed experiences to no experiences. This is all dependent on the blueprint she provided for you this lifetime, karmic experiences. You may have had a Kundalini awakening, or at least a release or an arousal in a previous lifetime. Maybe you did lots of spiritual work before coming in to this lifetime, and you had a Kundalini process that you didn't even notice. And then some of us come in with lots of karma to deal with, and the Kundalini process is very noticeable and manifests in blockages or illnesses. So it manifests in all different ways. Fact, Kundalini can be released and active without you knowing. Yes, fact. Kundalini can be released by spiritual methods, occult methods, life shocks and traumas, or you can be born with it already active. And I want to say that, there are two hugely, there are many popular people out there. promoting, intense breath work and all this sort of stuff to activate Kundalini. I suspect the motivation is so that you'll have more power and energy and to actualize your full potential. And those things are great, but you can absolutely look, Kundalini can be forced into awakening. While she doesn't like to be used that way, you have free will, and you can, because Kundalini is basically physics of the body and pressure and heat. It can absolutely be released. You can force her to be released and be used for all of these things that she is not interested in doing. And so, what am I trying to say? When you're going to these seminars or buying these books or doing these things from these big name peoples that are promoting, breathing in a particular way, doing the breath of fire and all this stuff, what is the reason for doing that? Is it so that you can awaken to your true self, that you reach self-realization, so that this is for deep inner spiritual growth, or is it for outer stuff, ego-driven stuff like powers, special talents, and more energy and manifestation? If it's the latter, then you obviously know that these are ego-driven motivations, and you can awaken Kundalini before your subtle body is ready, before Kundalini was ready for you to be released, and it can stir up a lot of stuff in you. But hey, I guess if you did it, then somehow, somewhere along the line, it was meant to be. Anyway, that's all I want to say on that. Okay, some myths or misconceptions about Kundalini Shakti. Kundalini is either asleep or awake. Well, no, Kundalini is never asleep. She is behind all of creation. She created you. So she's not asleep. It's not like she's dormant and not active. She is what's keeping you alive, keeping you breathing, and she is your consciousness. So she is never asleep. She's at least keeping you alive and self-aware. She never sleeps, but she can be unreleased. So that's the difference. But we use the word asleep, but she's never asleep. She's just not released and active. Kundalini is not an energy, as we discussed before. She is the cause of the energetic feelings or pressures or processes as she works through your subtle body system and the pranic system. We can say, when she's in her unreleased state, coiled up in her unreleased state, she can behave like energy. So when we're doing those breath of fires, and she's not released yet, she can behave like energy, but she is not energy. So saying Kundalini energy is two terms that shouldn't go together, but it's so common now, it doesn't really matter. So Kundalini is a rare event. No, not rare. So many people have had Kundalini awakenings, like they said, they don't even know it's happening. But nowadays, awakenings are no longer, spiritual awakenings are no longer rare events. But the thing about Kundalini is kind of like the phenomenon of the women's menstrual cycle. When you get a group of women all together, all their menstrual cycles sync up. The same as with Kundalini. It's a magnetic force, and once one person pops, it can activate and stimulate others around you in your kind of sphere of influence. And then if someone gets a release or full, the higher it goes, the more people it can pop or brings. Anyway, it's a whole magnetic domino effect, and that's what's happening on this planet right now. Many people's Kundalinis are being at least stirred, aroused, if not released and awakened and active. Okay. Kundalini is always intense, risky, dangerous, and debilitating. No, as we said before, these things can happen if it's released when you're not ready, when you are not meant to have it released. And yes, it can cause emotional and mental disturbances because you were not ready, because your subtle body was not prepared. But that it's always an intense, risky, debilitating thing. No. This is why when you have understanding and acknowledge the process for what it is, it no longer becomes risky and dangerous. Okay, I can hear the concrete cutter outside. I hope you can too. Kundalini is something to get rid of or ignore. No, no, no. This is a blessed event in your journey. And with proper understanding and support, this will be beautiful for you. Please don't ignore it. Don't be afraid of it. Kundalini can be fixed, or the symptoms of Kundalini can be fixed or manipulated with energy work. No, no, no. No amount of Reiki can heal, fix what is going on in the Kundalini process. Kundalini functions at the subtlest level, and Reiki is more of a pranic manipulation. And while it may offer some temporary relief and relaxation, it does not get to the cause. What else? Oh, this is such a dry video. You can make Kundalini go away with external forces and behaviors. No. I mean, you can perhaps ignore it. I don't know what the external behaviors, I don't know, ignoring your spiritual journey. You can't. Kundalini is you. You can't not be you. So you can't make it go away. If it's been released, it's going to be released, and it's going to keep causing begging for your attention. What else? Kundalini always gives you a feeling of energy going up your spine and fireworks. No. Like we said before, it can be so subtle you don't even notice it, and it manifests in as many different ways as there are people. So it's a very individualized journey. Kundalini always ascends through the central channel, and there is only one channel. No, that is not true. There are at least 6 different pathways that Kundalini can take. Of course, one of the central channels is most preferred, but she can go in many different directions, particularly if you've done one of these courses and you forced her awake before she was ready. She could take a route that can be extremely uncomfortable for you. Kundalini Shakti is for developing special powers or cities. No, she really, although upon her release or forcing her awake and forcing her to, through occult practices and forcing her to rise all the way up to the brain centers, she absolutely can. I don't want to use the word bestow, because when she's released and you're ready for it and your timing was correct, yes, she can bestow talents and gifts to you. But when it's being forced, I don't want to use the word bestow. You could force gifts and talents to be open by forcing her up to the brain centers. But really, she is there as your pathway to self-realization and to becoming one with God. Great, now I have the phone. Anyway, I'm almost done. Just let it go. Kundalini Shakti is a myth is that it's a path of its own or a style of hatha yoga. No. Kundalini is just for Hindus and not for Westerners. No, don't be silly. That's just an old thought. And Kundalini can be easily, I'm so sorry about that, but I can't reach up. This is ridiculous. Oh, now it goes away. Okay, so finally, I'm so professional. I love it. Kundalini can be easily released by a guru through Shaktipat transfer to reach enlightenment. No, I mean, it can happen, but everything is on her terms, right? It'll happen when it happens, and everything depends on so many factors. Kundalini Shakti, this is the final myth, makes you special and virtuous. No, 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 no. Particularly in the beginning of Kundalini release, or all the years it takes for her to go through all of the blocks, clearing out your subtle body. And then she gets to the real unloading process where all your shit comes to the front. I mean, you are definitely not special and virtuous during those times. You're trying like hell to be, but no, she does not make you special or virtuous. Although the virtuous part, I don't even know what that word means, but ultimately she is cleansing you to live a more holy life. Well, if they don't get me on the cell phone, they're calling on the landline. And yes, I still have a landline. Okay, all for that video. Oh, that was a rough one. Bye.